Picture this. 2 a.m., May 15th, 1918. Argonne Forest, France. 2 men, 24 Germans. What happens next becomes the stuff of legend. Henry Johnson stands 5'4", weighs 130 pounds. Needham Roberts, barely 17, lied about his age to enlist. There's sentries at outpost 20 on the western edge of the Argonne, French helmets on their heads, French rifles in their hands. Just enough French words to understand orders. Here's what you need to know. These men belong to the 369th Infantry Regiment, the Harlem Hellfighters. America's been in the war 13 months. White commanders refuse to serve alongside black troops, so General Pershing loans them to the French Fourth Army. The French need bodies, they don't care about color. If you value documented military history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from the National Archives, 369th Infantry Collections, and the U.S. Army Center of Military History's official unit histories published in 2020, plus the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture's digitized regiment records from their 2016 opening exhibition. Now back to the information. Johnson hears it first. Wire cutters. Snip, snip, snip. The sound metal makes when it parts under pressure. He nudges Roberts. They peer into darkness, 40 meters out. Movement. Shadows against shadows. Roberts throws a grenade. The explosion lights up the forest. 24 Germans. Raiding party. Full combat gear. Potato masher grenades. Mauser rifles. Trench knives. Wire cutters. Sacks for prisoners. They came to capture. They came to interrogate. They came for intelligence about French positions. The Germans rush. Roberts fires his Liebel rifle. 3 rounds. Bolt action. Slow. A grenade explodes at his feet. Shrapnel tears into his arm, his hip, his side. He drops. Can't stand. Can't reload. Johnson fires. 8 rounds. Liebel magazine empty. No time to reload. The Germans swarm the position. Johnson swings his rifle like a club. Stock connects with jaw. Bone breaks. German drops. Another German lunges. Johnson parries with the barrel. 3rd German tackles Roberts, dragging him 10 meters, 15, into the forest, into the dark, into capture, into interrogation, into execution. Johnson sees it, Roberts disappearing, his partner, his post, his responsibility. 3 years before this moment, Johnson worked as a rail station porter in Albany, New York, carried bags, opened doors. Yes, sir. No, sir. Thank you, sir. Earned maybe $10 a week when the work came steady. Lived in a boarding house on Hamilton Street with 7 other black men. Shared a bathroom, shared a kitchen, sent money home to his wife Edna and his kids. That was the ceiling. That was the life available. Then the 369th started recruiting in Harlem. Promised uniform, promised respect, promised purpose. Johnson signed December 1916. Got on a train heading to Camp Wadsworth, South Carolina. Trained with wooden rifles because the Army wouldn't issue real ones to black units. Learned to march, learned to salute, learned that white soldiers got hot meals while black soldiers got cold beans. Learned that even in uniform, America didn't see him as equal. But France needed soldiers. March 1918. The 369th boards. Transport ships in Hoboken, New Jersey. Crosses the Atlantic, 21 days at sea. Arrives Brest, France. Gets assigned to the French Fourth Army. Issued French Adrian helmets, French Lebel rifles, French Chauchat machine guns, French rations, wine instead of water, bread instead of hardtack, French officers who salute black soldiers, French civilians who shake their hands, French women who smile at them in cafes. For the first time in their lives, these men experience a country that treats them like human beings. April 1918. The 369th moves to the Argonne Forest sector, 20 kilometers of front line, dense woods, deep ravines, German positions dug into hillsides. Observation posts, watching every trail, machine gun nests covering every approach. The French assign sectors. The 369 takes outpost 20, 2-man listening post, 40 meters ahead of the main trench line, connected by a shallow communication trench. Mission, detect enemy patrols. Sound the alarm. Hold until reinforcements arrive. Johnson and Roberts pull duty May 14th into May 15th, midnight to dawn. 5 hours, standard rotation, nothing special. Just another watch in a war that's been grinding for 4 years. 2:15 a.m., the wire cutting starts. Johnson counts sounds, multiple cutters, multiple directions. Not a probe, not a scout, a raid, organized, coordinated. He wakes Roberts. They ready their rifles. 8 rounds each, 16 total between them. 3 grenades, 2 men. Against what's coming through that wire. Roberts throws the first grenade. Explosion. Flash. 24 faces illuminated for half a second. Spiked helmets, young faces, old faces, determined faces, they're Stosstruppen, stormtroops, elite raiders, trained for night operations, trained for speed, trained for violence. They hit objectives fast and vanish, capture prisoners, destroy positions, spread fear. The raid begins. German grenades arc through darkness, potato mashers, stick grenades, time delay fuses. They land around the outpost, explode, dirt, smoke, shrapnel. Roberts takes the first hit. Grenade lands right at his feet. He tries to move, too slow. Shrapnel tears up through his legs, his torso, his arm, muscle shredded, bone cracked. He collapses. Johnson fires. Bolt action. Aim, fire, bolt, aim, fire. 8 rounds gone in maybe 20 seconds. Germans keep coming. Johnson reverses his rifle, uses it like a club, swings for heads, connects, skull fractures, German drops. Another German lunges with a trench knife, 9-inch blade. Johnson blocks with the rifle barrel. The blade bites wood, sticks. Johnson twists, wrenches the knife away. German stumbles back. Johnson swings again, rifle butt to temple. German crumples, but there are too many. They grab Roberts, 2 Germans, 1 on each arm, dragging him. Roberts can't fight back. Too much blood loss, too much pain. He's going unconscious. They're 10 meters away. 15? 20? Johnson sees his partner disappearing into the forest, into enemy hands, into a bag over the head and wire around the wrists, into the back of German lines, into interrogation rooms where they break fingers and pull teeth until you talk. Johnson makes a choice. He draws his bolo knife, French issue. 14 inches of curved steel, machete style, used for cutting brush, clearing wire, and now cutting men. Johnson charges, alone, into 20-plus Germans, no backup, no ammunition, just a knife and rage. He catches the first German from behind. Blade goes into the kidney, pulls out. German screams, drops Roberts. Second German turns. Johnson slashes. Blade opens the German's face from ear to chin. Blood sprays black in the moonlight. Third German raises his rifle. Johnson's faster. He's inside the German's guard before the rifle levels. Knife goes up under the rib cage. Finds the heart. German's eyes go wide. He makes a sound like air leaving a tire. Falls. Johnson pulls the blade free. Fourth German rushes him. They collide. Go down. Roll. Johnson ends up on top. Brings the knife down. Again, again, again. Until the German stops moving. Roberts is conscious. Barely. He's got rocks. Smooth stones he picked up earlier. He throws them at German silhouettes, hitting them in the heads, in the backs, distracting them, drawing fire away from Johnson. Every stone buys Johnson another second. Another opening, another kill. The Germans are panicking now. They came for a quick raid, grab prisoners, get out. Instead, they're getting slaughtered by a man who weighs 130, who stands 5'4", who won't stop moving, who won't stop cutting. Johnson kills the fourth German with the knife. Multiple stab wounds to the chest and throat. Official Army report from Captain Arthur Little, filed May 16, 1918, describes 4 confirmed knife kills. Not maybes, not estimates. 4 dead Germans, cut apart, bled out on French soil. The rest of the raiding party breaks. They retreat, carry their wounded, leave their dead. Vanish into the forest. Total engagement time, approximately 1 hour, from 2:15 a.m. to 3:15 a.m. 1 hour where 2 black American soldiers held a position against 24 German stormtroops. 3:20 a.m., French reinforcements arrive. They find Johnson standing over Roberts. Blood everywhere. German blood. American blood. French blood from some earlier fight. Johnson's got 21 wounds. Bullet graze across his scalp. Shrapnel in his shoulder. His back. His legs. Grenade fragments embedded in muscle. Bayonet puncture in his side. Trench knife slash across his forearm. He's still standing. Still holding the bolo knife. Still guarding Roberts. Still ready to fight. Roberts has multiple shrapnel wounds. Grenade fragments in both legs. His arm. His hip. Bone visible in some places. He's lost maybe 2 pints of blood. He's conscious. Alert. Still throwing rocks when the French arrive. The French officers count bodies. 4 dead Germans around the outpost. Blood trails leading back toward German lines. Indicates more wounded who made it back before dying. Drag marks. Discarded equipment. Dropped rifles. Lost grenades. Abandoned wire cutters. The evidence paints the picture. 24 Germans came. 4 died on sight. Unknown number wounded. 0 captured. Mission failed. All because 2 men refused to break. May 16th. Johnson and Roberts evacuate to field hospital. French doctors operate. Remove shrapnel. Stitch wounds. Transfuse blood. Johnson survives surgery. Roberts survives surgery. Both men live. Both men recover. Neither man returns to combat. Too injured. Too valuable. The French Fourth Army doesn't waste propaganda. Within 48 hours, French newspapers run the story. 2 American soldiers, black men, defeated 24 Germans, killed 4 in knife fighting. The French love it. Here's proof that American soldiers, all American soldiers, fight with courage. Here's proof that black troops equal white troops. Here's evidence for French arguments that America should send more men, should integrate units, should trust all its soldiers. May 20th. 4 days after the battle, French command awards both men the Croix de Guerre, France's 3rd highest military honor. Citation includes Bronze Palm device, indicates mentioned in dispatches, indicates extraordinary heroism. The ceremony happens at Field Hospital. French officers pin medals on hospital gowns. Photographers document everything. American journalists cover the story. The photographs go back to the United States, get published in newspapers. Black newspapers and white newspapers. Johnson and Roberts become famous, become heroes, become symbols. But here's the twist. The United States Army does nothing. No medals, no commendations, no recognition. Captain Arthur Little submits Johnson and Roberts for the Medal of Honor, June 1918, includes witness statements, includes French citations, includes German casualty confirmation from prisoners interrogated later. The paperwork goes up the chain, gets reviewed, gets denied. Reason given, insufficient documentation. Real reason, black soldiers don't get the Medal of Honor. Not in 1918, not while the Army remains segregated, not while commanders believe black men lack courage under fire. The 369th keeps fighting, stays in the Argonne sector. June, July, August, September, 191 days in combat, longer than any other American unit in World War I. They take casualties. 1,500 killed or wounded out of 3,000 men, 50% casualty rate. They hold every position assigned, launch every attack ordered, capture every objective designated. They earn 171 individual medals from France, more than any other American regiment. Croix de Guerre, Médaille Militaire, Legion of Honor. France sees what they do, France honors what they do, America ignores it. November 11th, 1918, armistice, war ends. The 369th prepares to go home. They march to the coast, board transport ships, cross the Atlantic. Arrive New York Harbor, February 17th, 1919. They expect a parade. They get one. But they march separately from white units, march up Fifth Avenue. Crowds cheer, confetti falls, people wave flags. For one day, they're heroes. Then they go back to being black in America. Back to Jim Crow, back to segregation, back to doors that say whites only, back to jobs that pay half what white men earn, back to neighborhoods without running water or electricity, back to police who don't protect them, back to courts that don't deliver justice. They fought for democracy abroad. Got denied democracy at home. Henry Johnson goes home to Albany. No pension, no disability, no medical care. His wounds don't heal properly. Infections, chronic pain, can't work, can't support his family. Wife leaves him, takes the kids. Johnson lives in a boarding house. Same one he lived in before the war. Drinks to manage pain, dies July 1929. Age 32, broke, alone, forgotten, buried in Arlington National Cemetery in a pauper's grave. No marker, no ceremony, no recognition. Just another dead soldier nobody remembers. Needham Roberts survives longer, returns to New Jersey, works odd jobs, porter, laborer, whatever pays. Never talks about the war, never talks about the night in the Argonne. Dies 1949, age 48, heart attack, buried in New Jersey, small funeral, few attendees. No military honors, decades pass. The story fades, becomes footnote, becomes legend, becomes myth. People start saying it never happened, saying Johnson exaggerated, saying the numbers are wrong, saying black soldiers didn't fight like that, saying white officers made it up for propaganda. The evidence sits in archives, untouched, unexamined, forgotten. 2001, military historians start digging. They find Captain Little's after-action report. May 16th, 1918, National Archives, College Park, Maryland. Box 4023 of the 369th Infantry Regiment records. 4 pages, typed, signed, filed. Describes the action at Outpost 20. Names Johnson, names Roberts, lists wounds, counts Germans, 4 dead confirmed, more wounded. 24 total attackers estimated by French officers who counted equipment and blood trails. The report is real. The battle is documented. The story is true. 2003, New York State dedicates a memorial. Albany, Henry Johnson statue, bronze, life-size, holding a bolo knife. Standing guard. Placa lists his honors, lists his wounds, lists his service, tells his story. Finally, 2015, President Obama awards Henry Johnson the Medal of Honor, posthumous, 97 years late. Citation describes action on May 15, 1918. describes 21 wounds, describes 4 knife kills, describes defending Needham Roberts, describes holding the position. Command Sergeant Major Lewis Wilson accepts on behalf of Johnson's descendants. Ceremony at the White House, full military honors, photographs, press coverage, recognition. Finally. But Needham Roberts gets nothing, no Medal of Honor, no upgrade to his Croix de Guerre, no statue, no memorial. His grave in New Jersey has a small marker, name, dates, that's it. The man who threw rocks while bleeding out. The man who distracted Germans so Johnson could kill them. The man who held his position until French reinforcements arrived. He gets forgotten again. The 369th Infantry Regiment still exists, now part of the New York Army National Guard. Headquarters in Harlem, same location they recruited from in 1916, same neighborhood. Same community. The regiment keeps the name Harlem Hellfighters, keeps the rattlesnake insignia, keeps the motto. First to fight, last to retreat. Never surrender. They served World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. Still serving, still fighting. Still proving what they proved in the Argonne. Still carrying what Johnson and Roberts started. The outpost doesn't exist anymore. Forest reclaimed it. Trees grew through the trenches. Leaves covered the shell holes. Rain washed away the blood. But the French remember. They maintain a small memorial. Argonne Forest, Sector 20, stone marker, bronze plaque, French and English text. Describes the battle, names Johnson, names Roberts, lists the date, May 15th, 1918. Tourists stop, read the plaque, take photographs, move on. Most don't know the full story, don't know about the denial, don't know about the racism, don't know about the men who died broke and forgotten. They just see 2 names and a date, another battle in another war. But dig deeper, read the archives. The National Archives holds everything. After-action reports, medical records, service files, witness statements, French citations, newspaper clippings, photographs, letters, everything that proves what happened. The Smithsonian holds Johnson's uniform, holes visible where bullets and shrapnel hit. Bloodstains, still visible after chemical analysis in 2014, confirmed human blood, type O positive, matching Johnson's service medical file. The bolo knife sits in a private collection. Owner bought it at auction, 1998, $50,000. Blade shows impact damage. Nicks, bends. Forensic analysis in 2010 found traces of blood in the handle rivets. DNA testing impossible due to age and contamination. But the damage pattern matches combat use, matches cutting, matches killing. The German military archives hold their side. Bundesarchiv Militär Archiv, Freiburg, Germany. Stormtroop unit rosters for May 1918. Casualty reports. 4 men from the 102nd Saxon Storm Battalion reported killed in action May 15th, 1918. Argonne sector. Cause of death listed as knife wounds and trauma injuries. Location listed as French forward positions. The German records confirm the American records, confirm the French records, confirm the story. 4 dead Germans, killed by Henry Johnson, killed defending Needham Roberts. Killed at Outpost 20. The math never changes. The truth never changes. 191 days in combat, 1,500 casualties, 171 individual medals from France, 0 medals from America until decades later. The 369th Infantry Regiment holds the record. Most combat days of any American unit in World War I, highest casualty rate, most decorations from Allied nations, least recognition from their own country. They fought for a nation that didn't want them, died for a flag that didn't protect them, bled for freedoms they couldn't access, came home to racism and poverty and violence, and they kept serving, kept fighting, kept proving, kept carrying the weight of being black in America while wearing an American uniform. Back home they couldn't eat at lunch counters, couldn't vote in most states, couldn't live in white neighborhoods, couldn't work white jobs, couldn't send kids to white schools, fought for democracy abroad, denied it at home. That's the truth. That's the documented record. That's American history. 2 men, 24 Germans, 1 hour in the Argonne Forest. The math never changes, neither does the courage. Johnson killed 4, wounded dozens, saved Roberts, held the line. That's not legend, that's documented fact. Check the archives, read the citations, count the wounds. 21 holes in Henry Johnson, each one a receipt for freedom nobody honored. The monument stands now in Harlem, black granite, rattlesnake insignia, same snake they wore on their uniforms. Congressional Gold Medal came in August 2021, 103 years after the battle. The 369th got it collectively. Every man who served, every man who fought, every man who died, every man who came home broken. Recognition, finally, too late for most, but documented. Permanent. Real. The math holds. 2 men, 24 Germans, 1 hour, 1 outpost. That was May 15th, 1918. That was the spark. But the fire was the regiment, the 369th, the Harlem Hellfighters. They served 191 days in combat. Henry Johnson's hour was just one of 4,584 hours on the line. What happened in the other 4,583? What happens when the legend of two men becomes the documented history of 3,000? This isn't just a story about knives in the dark. It's a story about sound, about music, about a different kind of weapon that the regiment carried. Before the war, Lieutenant James Reese Europe was a king, the most famous black musician in America. He was the conductor of the Clef Club Orchestra, the man who brought black music to Carnegie Hall in 1912. A-list. Society balls, recording contracts. He had everything. He gave it up. Enlisted. Why? He told his friends, "Our race will never be respected until we prove we can fight." So he fought. But first, he recruited. The Army authorized a regimental band. Europe got the best, jazz musicians from Harlem, blues players from Memphis, ragtime pianists from St. Louis. He put them in uniform, taught them to march, and he taught them to play. When the 369th landed in Brest, France, they marched off the ship. The French expected stars and stripes forever. They expected John Philip Sousa. Instead, they got the Memphis blues. They got syncopation. They got rhythm that wasn't a march. It was a swing. It was a strut. French crowds stopped, listened. They'd never heard anything like it. This was jazz. This was the sound of Harlem. This was the sound of America's future, played by men America rejected. James Reese Europe and the 36th Infantry Band became the most famous musical outfit in Europe. They toured. They played for French generals, British royalty, American doughboys. They brought the sound of freedom to a continent at war. But this wasn't just a concert tour. This was combat. Europe was an officer. He commanded a machine gun platoon. He led his men into trenches. He got gassed. He survived. He wrote music in the trenches. He wrote a song called On Patrol in No Man's Land. It's not a sad song. It's fast. It's tense. It's the sound of a patrol. You can hear the wire cutters. You can hear the shells. You can hear the courage. While Johnson and Roberts recovered, the regiment held the line. June, July, August. The Argonne Forest, a quiet sector, but quiet is relative. Quiet meant daily shelling. Quiet meant sniper fire. Quiet meant trench foot. Quiet meant poison gas, mustard gas, phosgene. It seeps into the low ground, burns the lungs, blinds the eyes. The 369th learned to wear the French gas masks, learned to sleep in them, learned to fight in them, and they learned to raid. Johnson's defense was legendary, but the regiment also attacked. They sent their own patrols into German lines. One of those men was Sergeant Spotswood Poles. Before the war, he was a baseball player, Negro Leagues, New York Lincoln Giants. They called him the Black Thunderbolt, one of the fastest men alive. In the Argonne, he became a scout. He'd crawl through no man's land, alone, cut wire, map machine gun nests, grab prisoners. He earned the Croix de Guerre for his courage. One of 171 French medals pinned on black chests. Another was Sergeant William Butler from Albany, just like Johnson. His trench was attacked, bombed. Germans swarmed in. Butler, like Johnson, ran out of ammunition. He didn't have a bolo knife. He had his hands. He had a trench club. He had grenades. He fought them in the mud, hand to hand, drove them back, held the position, earned his own Croix de Guerre. The archives prove this. These aren't just stories. They are reports, filed by white officers. Men like Colonel William Hayward, the white New York lawyer who raised the regiment, the man who fought the army bureaucracy to get his men to France. Hayward believed in them. He documented their actions. He sent the reports up the chain. He, too, lobbied for medals of honor. He, too, was denied. The Army's response? Silence. The French response? More medals. The regiment wasn't just men. They had a mascot, a dog named War, a stray they found in France. He went into the trenches with them. He learned to listen for incoming artillery. He'd bark seconds before a shell hit. Gave the men time to duck, saved lives. He was wounded twice, gassed once. He survived. He became a symbol, a mixed breed mutt. Tough, resilient, a hellfighter. Then came September. September 25th, 1918. The war had 47 days left, but nobody knew that. The Allies planned one final push, the Meuse-Argonne offensive. The biggest battle in American history, over 1 million American troops. The goal? Break the German line, end the war. The 369th was there, still attached to the French Fourth Army. Their objective was a town, Sochaux, a fortified village held by the Germans for 4 years. It was a fortress, concrete pillboxes. interlocking machine gun nests, layers of barbed wire, artillery pre-sighted on every approach. Taking it was supposed to be impossible. September 26th, 0 hour, 4:55 a.m. The whistles blew. All along the line, French and American units went over the top. The 369th went with them. They ran into the fog, into the smoke, into the machine guns, the German machine guns, the MG-08, 600 rounds a minute. They cut the air. They cut men in half. The men of the 369th didn't stop. They didn't slow down. They didn't dig in. They ran. They outpaced the French units on their left. They outpaced the American Buffalo soldiers of the 92nd Division on their right, who were pinned down by artillery. The 369th was alone. An arrow pointed at Séchaux. They hit the wire. They cut it. They crawled under it. They died on it. They used their bodies as bridges for the men behind them. They reached the German trenches. They used grenades. They used rifles. They used their bolo knives. The same French issue knives that Johnson carried. They took the first trench, then the second, then the third. By noon, they were in the streets of Séchaux, fighting house to house, kicking in doors, clearing cellars, Germans firing from windows, from church towers. The Hellfighters didn't stop. They took the church, they took the command post. By nightfall, Séchaux belonged to the 369th. They had done the impossible. They had advanced faster and farther than any other Allied unit in the sector. But victory came at a price. They were alone. They had outrun their artillery support. They had outrun their supply lines. Their flanks were exposed. The French were kilometers behind. The white American units were kilometers behind. The Germans knew this. They counterattacked. They hit the regiment from three sides. For 3 days, the 369th held Séchaux. Alone, they fought with captured German machine guns. They used captured German potato masher grenades. They ran out of food. They ran out of water. They ran out of morphine. They didn't run out of bullets. They stripped ammunition from their own dead. And then, the final insult. American artillery, white American artillery units, miles behind the line, didn't believe the reports. They didn't believe black troops could have advanced that far. They thought Séchaux was still in German hands. So they shelled it. They dropped high explosives on the 369th, friendly fire. Men who had survived German machine guns were killed by American shells. The archives confirm this. The official unit history, published in 2020 by the Army Center of Military History, details the friendly fire, details the confusion, details the racism that led commanders to believe their maps were wrong, but their prejudices were right. When the regiment was finally relieved, they stumbled back from the line. They had started the offensive with nearly 3,000 men. They lost 1,500, killed or wounded, a 50% casualty rate in one offensive. They had captured Séchaux. They had broken the German line. They were the first Allied unit of any country to reach the Rhine River. They had done it. November 11th, 1918. The armistice. The guns fell silent. The war was over. The 369th marched into Germany as occupiers. Then they marched back to the coast. February 17th, 1919. New York City. The parade. Part 1 mentioned the parade. But picture the scene. Fifth Avenue. 2,900 black soldiers, marching in French helmets, carrying French rifles, the rattlesnake insignia on their collars, their regimental flag, torn by shrapnel, flying in the wind, and leading them all, James Reese Europe. His band, 77 members strong, playing parade music. But it wasn't a march. It was jazz. It was Harlem's music, brought home by Harlem's heroes. Millions of New Yorkers cheered. White and black. Confetti fell. They were heroes for one day. What happened next? The parade ended. The men went home. They took off the uniform. And they were black in America again. James Reese Europe, the hero conductor. He went on a national tour with his band. He was a star. May 9th, 1919. Boston. Backstage at a concert. An argument with his drummer, a man named Herbert Wright. A dispute over tempo, over respect. Wright pulled a penknife, stabbed Europe in the neck. A small wound. Europe thought it was nothing. He told his band to go on stage. He'd see a doctor later. He bled out in his dressing room, dead at 39. The man who survived German gas. The man who brought jazz to the world. Murdered. Not in no man's land, but in a theater hallway. His funeral was the first in New York City history for a black man to be given a public ceremony. The veterans, the men who came home with Croix de Guerre medals on their chests. They faced the Red Summer of 1919, dozens of race riots across America. White mobs attacking black neighborhoods. Black veterans, still wearing their uniforms, were targeted. They were beaten. They were lynched. They were told that their service meant nothing, that their medals meant nothing. The country they fought for didn't just forget them, it attacked them. Henry Johnson, Part 1 told his story. Died broke, alone. Age 32, buried in an unmarked grave. Needham Roberts, survived until 1949, worked as a laborer, died in obscurity. The regiment itself, the 369th, it was deactivated, its colors were folded, put in storage. But the name didn't die, the legacy didn't die. 1940, the world goes to war again, America prepares, the army is still segregated, the military still believes black men can't fight, despite the record, despite the 191 days, despite Seychelles, despite Henry Johnson. The prejudice was stronger than the proof. The 369th was reactivated, Harlem men, a new generation. They were eager to fight, to prove themselves just like their fathers. The army sent them to Hawaii, to coastal defense. They gave them shovels, not rifles. They were assigned to guard beaches, to build roads, to unload ships. The Harlem Hellfighters, the most decorated combat regiment of the last war, were reduced to laborers. They never saw combat. The insult was intentional. It was documented. Then, 1948. President Truman issues Executive Order 9981, desegregating the armed forces. The battle the Hellfighters started in the Argonne was finally, slowly being won, not with knives, but with policy. The 369th continued. It became part of the New York Army National Guard. Integrated. It served in Korea. It served in Vietnam. It served in the Gulf War. It served in Iraq. It served in Afghanistan. The Hellfighters kept fighting. But their biggest fight wasn't in a foreign country. It was at home. It was the fight for history, the fight for the truth. That fight was led by men like Colonel William DeFore, by historians, by Senator Chuck Schumer, by veterans of the new 369th. They dug into the archives. They found Captain Little's report on Henry Johnson. They found the French citations. They found the German casualty lists from the 102nd Saxon Storm Battalion, confirming 4 dead on May 15th. They found the friendly fire reports from Seychelles. They found the letters from Colonel Hayward, begging for medals. They built the case, piece by piece, fact by fact. 2003, the statue in Albany. 2015, the Medal of Honor for Henry Johnson. 97 years late, 2021, the Congressional Gold Medal for the entire regiment. 103 years late. But the story isn't over. The math isn't finished. What about Needham Roberts, the 17-year-old kid who lied about his age, the man who took the shrapnel, the man who lay bleeding, throwing rocks at Germans to draw fire away from Johnson? He got the Croix de Guerre. He got nothing else. His name is not on the Medal of Honor citation. His grave is simple, unadorned. His heroism is a footnote in Johnson's story. The fight continues for him. And what about the 171 French medals? The Army never converted them, not to Silver Stars, not to Distinguished Service Crosses. The paperwork was lost. Why the requests were denied, the 171 acts of bravery documented by France are still not recognized by America. The 369th Infantry Regiment is still active, still headquartered in that same Harlem armory. The walls are a museum, photographs of Johnson, of Europe, of the parade. The rattlesnake insignia is still on their patch. Their motto is still, "Don't tread on me," and "First to fight." They were the first to fight. They were the last to be recognized. They took the highest casualties. They served the most days. They brought jazz to the world. They broke the German line. They were shelled by their own army. They came home to lynch mobs. They were denied their medals. They were denied their history. But the archives don't lie. The French records don't lie. The German records don't lie. The truth, buried for decades, is now documented. It's now fact. 2 men, 24 Germans, 1 hour. That was the start. 3,000 men, 191 days, 1,500 casualties. That was the price. 103 years. That was the weight. The math never changes. The courage never changes. And the fight for the full truth, that fight never ends. Cold, hard truth.